Now, Florida GOP Chairman Blaise Ingoglia, who joins us exclusively tonight, and Kendall Coffey, lead attorney for the Gore campaign during the 2000 Florida recount. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have both of you with us tonight. You heard Chuck Schumer, Senator Schumer, and this for Kendall Coffey, saying that we're not going to have a rerun of 2000 when bullying and intimidation ruled and created a rush to judgment, so that to this day Americans believe that the election was unfairly decided. Is he trying to suggest, Mr. Coffey, that that's what we're going to see again here, and that Floridians can't trust this outcome?
Well, I think Floridians can trust the processes. We learned a lot since 2000, and there is a fair issue about whether more time is needed. Wouldn't we agree that voters in Palm Beach County shouldn't somehow lose a right to a manual recount simply because their election officials don't get it done on time? That kind of equal protection challenge, standards need to be the same from county to county, was actually the legal strategy that Republican lawyers successfully used back in 2000 when it was argued successfully that different standards in manual recounts in Florida made the process unconstitutional. That part of it, I think, is a fair point the Democrats are raising. But otherwise, let's give the system a chance, because I do think the election officials are working tirelessly to get this done on time and to get it done right. And if they need a little bit more time, let's give it to them. Let's make sure this time Florida has the right count.
But it's interesting, you know, in Phil Keating's reporting that we just heard, Blaise, he talked about the fact that other counties, as soon as they thought that a recount was a possibility, kicked in and started their process right away, started sorting everything. But Broward County didn't do that. So why were they dragging their feet? And if that's the case, you know, why do we keep giving them concessions?
That's a great question.
And only
I'll come to you in a minute, Kendall. I just wanted, that question was for Blaise, and then I'll give you a chance to respond.
Thanks, Martha.
That's a great question, and a supervisor in Broward will be the only one who can answer that. But we've had problems with Supervisor Snipes, not just this election, but previous elections also. Look at Miami-Dade, and Phil Keating had alluded to this. Miami-Dade has a lot more voters. They had a lot longer ballot, but they were still able to do what they needed to do because they did it in advance. They were thoughtful. They knew that this was coming. Unfortunately, you have the supervisors in Palm Beach and Broward County just basically starting the process late. They're going home early. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And unfortunately, this is the situation we're in right now.
So go ahead, Kendall Coffey. I said I'd give you the chance to respond to that. Go ahead.
Well, I mostly agree with that. But the real question here isn't a report card for election supervisors. It's who are the real parties in interest. It's the voters. So if voters in Palm Beach County tried to vote, made markings on their paper ballot that are legally sufficient, should a supervisor's whatever reasons be something that denies a voter a right to have their vote, ballot vote counted?
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, I did my ballot at home, right? And there's all these instructions on it. You have to be really careful when you're filling it out. You have to fold it. You got to do everything perfectly, and you got to make sure that it's in on time. So this question of voter intent, which has been raised, and Mark Elias said, you know, we have sued Florida in federal court to ensure that its guidelines for determining, quote, voter intent do not disenfranchise thousands of lawful ballots. Blaise Ingoglia, your thoughts and your interpretation on what is meant by voter intent.
Well, actually, I'm going to diverge off of that. I think what's more important than voter intent is what the Democrats are doing when they filed a lawsuit the past couple of days, asking for all of the vote-by-mail ballots to be accepted after the Tuesday deadline. You know, we have a law in Florida that says that you cannot cast a ballot. A ballot cannot count if it's received by the supervisor of elections after 7 p.m. on Election Day. But the Democrats have now filed a lawsuit saying that they should accept them if they're received up to 10 days after Election Day. So while we are struggling with the voter intent, we have to deal with that lawsuit. I think one of the bigger issues from our perspective is that the Democrats clearly are trying to steal this election. Now they're trying to change the law after an election to try to get the outcome they want because they did not like the results on Election Day.
Real quick, if you can, Kendall Coffey, you know, I mean, it's a valid question. If the law is that it has to be in by election night, you can't change the law after the fact. You can maybe change it next time around.
Look, there was a lot of litigation on both sides last time. There's a lot of litigation this time. But the real parties in interest, the people who matter here, are the voters. And their voters' intent, if it's a valid ballot, ought to be heard. And in fact, the supervisor of elections, which have been or the Division of Elections, which has been Republican dominated for the last 20 years, has put out pretty specific guidance on how to judge the markings in a manual recount. And it allows people to be imperfect, to write the word yes by a candidate's name instead of filling out the oval, or to circle a candidate's name rather than doing everything perfectly. That's what we've got to get to.
All right. Kendall, Coffey, thank you very much. Blazing Golia, good to have you with us tonight, gentlemen. We'll see where it goes. Thank you.